Chairman Payne, and again, congratulations on your first hearing. This is timely and of tremendous importance. Examining how we can move people and freight more efficiently without congestion, and how we can also at the same time be dealing with climate change and fossil fuel reduction. We've already heard some statistics from the ranking member on the efficiency of rail. I did make the mistake once of saying to one of my constituents who owns a very large tug company about how rail is the most efficient way to move freight, and he corrected me that actually it is on the water. But water doesn't go everywhere that the freight and passenger rail network can go. But this is a very, very exciting time for rail. I'm particularly looking forward to hearing from Virginia. They're doing something that we proposed in last year's Invest Act, and that is to look at a problem. Massive, massive congestion, 95 coming into DC down through Virginia. And they looked at it and said, wow, it'll cost us about 10 or 15 billion dollars, to add lane miles, and we'll add lane miles, and then more people will hop in their cars, and we'll end up being congested again in 10 years. So he said, well, there might be another solution. And then they began to look at rail investments, particularly with a new bridge over the Potomac River, a big choke point. Now, this is expensive, but it turns out that it's actually more cost beneficial and actually solves the problem as opposed to temporarily delaying the problem with congestion in this particular corridor. Now, this isn't going to be applicable everywhere in the United States. I mean, it's most applicable in very, very heavily congested areas like the Northeast or around other major urban areas in the country. According to Amtrak statistics, traveling on the electrified Northeast Corridor system emits 83% fewer greenhouse gas emissions than driving and 73% fewer than flying. And Amtrak has pretty much taken over the market from DC to New York. They used to run a Delta shuttle every hour. I think someone else had a shuttle at the same time. So we have seen a dramatic reduction in carbon pollution, and people like traveling by rail. You're not strapped in a little crummy seat. You don't have to deal with all the hassles of going to the airport and doing that. And that's even with all the problems we have in the Northeast Corridor. With ancient, decrepit infrastructure. The Baltimore Tunnel, built in 1872, beautiful engineering work, made of brick. It's raining inside the tunnel because of leaking water mains that are 100 years old. Someday a tunnel's going to collapse, going to cut off the Northeast. We need to rebuild that tunnel as well as make other major improvements on that line. And also look, around the country where we can facilitate better movement of passenger rail in cooperation with freight. That's what's so exciting about the project we're going to hear about from Virginia. CSX came to the table and with VDOT, and they worked out something that is going to benefit both freight movement, which is way more efficient than trucks, and passenger movement, a win-win. I'm hoping that the rest of the industry is attentive to this because the law does say, because we took over the common carrier status and passenger rail from the railroads, that Amtrak's supposed to get preference, but certainly out my way, where it takes about 3 or over 3 hours to get from my home city of Eugene to Portland, 112 miles. Train can go 120 miles an hour. Takes over 3 hours to get there. We have to see better coordination, cooperation between the industry and freight, and that's why it's so exciting to have this hearing today. We'll hear from the NSF. and hopefully, we can be working on projects like this around the rest of the country as we move forward and as we build back better. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity.
No, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate